This is Grace Notes. My name is Alan Button, and our guest today is Megin Duff. Megin is a mom of 4, first and foremost, Sam, Bella, Ben, and Maggie, ages 13, 11, 9, and 7, respectively. Megin is also the founder of a community Facebook service group for kids, among many other things. Megin, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'd like to start, if we could, by having you say a little bit of something about how we got connected here at the station with you. And to kick that off, let me say that we also have with us today our producer, Christina Dolan. And Christina and Megin have something in common, not the least of which is Raleigh-Durham International Airport.
And exhaustion and motherhood, which you always recognize.
And we just heard something from the other youngster in this group, Christina's young son. Megin, why don't you tell us something about how we got connected?
Well, we had just flown back from an exhausting medical treatment for my daughter, and we needed to rent a car because ours wasn't working. We had been up since 4 and flown in. Me and my husband and all 4 of our children went to Enterprise, and I saw a mom with a beautiful baby, and she was crying on the phone and was not able to rent a car. She was having a lot of difficulty renting a car, and she had a 10-month-old baby. And I looked at my husband and I said, can we offer her a ride? And I just sat next to her. And I think it's one of those moments where you just want to offer at least a supportive hand, Christina, and my heart just went out to you.
Christina, why don't you jump in and let us hear your side of the story?
Yeah, I mean, Megin told it great. I was flying back into RDU, needed to rent a car, and was told that wasn't going to happen. And, when you are traveling on your own with a 10-month-old, things don't always go the way that you want them to. But I felt like, okay, I made it to the airport. This is great. Now we're home free. And then it was like, okay, you're not going to be able to rent a car. And so I'm going through all these different scenarios in my mind of how am I going to get to where I need to be, and just Megin reaching out and saying, how can we help you? She offered me a ride to Moore County when she was going to Pitt County. In that moment, she had no idea what I was going through in my mind and in my life. And for her to reach out, just really, it was one of those human moments that I feel like we're lacking so much in society today. And it meant the world to me. So I ended up getting a ride from some friends. I didn't need for Megin to, change her whole day around to give me a ride. And when I got home that night, I emailed her and I told her I'm the producer of Grace Notes on Life 103.1, and this is what we want to feature. I wanted to just this simple act of kindness that turned my whole day around and turned my whole perspective around.
It's that human moment you talk about, Christina, because I don't know what it is in society today that everyone is so lost in their own worlds that I don't even think we see each other anymore. And you feel that. You can be surrounded by people and nobody sees you and you don't see them. And I love that you guys have a program that focuses a little more on the individual. I think that's fantastic.
Well, Megin, you and I were talking before we came into the studio about how Grace Notes got started, and it really is intended to feature people like you who make a difference in the lives of others in ways that are worth sharing because it inspires and encourages and affirms and challenges the rest of us.
And that's where the community service group got started, so that children would have a way and a place to learn about other people and their plights.
Tell us a little bit more about that, some of the things that the group has done.
We've done work for Hearts Haven Youth Rescue, a horse rescue that does therapeutic horseback riding for children, food and toy drives for the Wesley Shelter, blood drives. We've done many of those, and children also get to watch their parents donate blood. So it's no longer has that stigma surrounding it of the needle, but they're growing up, and my kids can't wait to donate blood. They think it's the best thing ever. And the opportunities for children to donate their time is less and less because of age constraints. So we focus on finding safe projects, and it also gets children out just interacting with other people off of their screens, their tablets, their phones, whatever it is, and actually seeing the world as so much bigger than just their small area. And there's a lot of that's been lacking too.
I want to talk in a little more detail about your kids here in a little bit, But before we go there, tell us about this first song that you've identified, Stand by Rascal Flatts.
Stand speaks to me because our family has faced a lot of unexpected medical challenges and difficulties for our children. And Stand is about that moment that we all have, the moment after a crisis when you've gone to sleep and you wake up and you have a blurry moment of wondering what it is that has just happened, and then you remember. It kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. Stand is about getting up and getting back after the fight, even when you feel like it's all been beaten out of you. And I know that mothers of one child or 20 children, mothers with complex medical needs, medical special needs, or mental special needs, parents in general are trying so hard to do our very best for our children every day, and some days it's hard to stand.
Let's hear the song, Stand by Rascal Flatts.
You feel like a candle in a hurricane, just like a picture with a broken...
That was Stand by Rascal Flatts. If you're just joining us, our guest today is Megin Duff, along with our producer, Christina Dolan. Megin, you were telling me before we came into the studio that this song has something to say to you about being an advocate and fighting for your kids. And by the way, I would be remiss in not acknowledging something else you told me before we came in the studio, and that is the partnership that you have with your husband, Phil. It's not just you and the kids, but Phil's a part of this enterprise, too, in a big way.
We have made it our mission through everything that our family has faced that our children would feel the bond of always being together, always knowing no matter what they're in it together. We're all behind each other.
Give us some specifics about your kids' conditions to whatever extent you're comfortable.
So my 13-year-old son has a brain condition and orbital lymphangioma, which is tumors that surround his eye. His little brother, our 9-year-old son, has the same brain condition and multiple spinal cord effects from that condition and another spinal condition that's unrelated. And my 11-year-old daughter is currently struggling with something that I definitely wanted to speak to. She has been diagnosed by Johns Hopkins with small fiber neuropathy. And the way she presented was she had been having multiple problems and no one was able to tell us what was going on, and she fell and hit her head and lost all the feeling in her arms and legs and was taken by ambulance to the hospital. And this started a situation where she was in a wheelchair for 3 months. She suffered with numbness, pain, burning, and we went through a lot of different medical institutions and got to Johns Hopkins, who diagnosed her by biopsy with small fiber neuropathy. And the reason I wanted to add detail to her story was in case there's any parents out there that are getting the same line that we got as parents, saying, number one, nothing's wrong because we can't find anything. Number two, it's probably in her head, which, God bless it.
Well, you didn't need to hear that.
No, you take a child she was a horseback rider, a runner. She was up and at every part of life, and she's put into a wheelchair, and you're telling me it's in her head. And I know there's parents out there who are going to hear this and are going through the same thing. I just want them to consider small fiber neuropathy and getting more information. When Bella's biopsy was positive, she was the 5th positive biopsy Johns Hopkins had. As of last month, there were 40 children with positive biopsies. So people are hearing this story, and they are coming to get treatment.
But in the grand scheme of things, a small number, and therefore not well known, perhaps,
not enough
in the medical profession.
Not enough. This is such a recent diagnosis, and so the treatment for it is also recently discovered. And our daughter has had 2 treatments, and her life has turned around. I mean, the ability to play tag is something that parents probably take for granted, but she had gotten to a place where she couldn't, even when she was feeling her legs, she couldn't play tag or be part of life the way you want to see your child. So IV immunoglobulin is the treatment, but even insurance companies don't recognize it at this point because they have so many more rounds of children like my daughter. So we are paying out of pocket for each treatment at Johns Hopkins.
And you're flying to Florida to the Children's Hospital there?
To the Children's Hospital there for her infusions.
And if I can just interject here a little bit about Bella, I met her at the airport, and she is the most beautiful, happy girl that I've ever seen. JJ was in his stroller buckled in, but she asked if she could wave to him and play with him, and he got a kick out of it, and it kind of gave me a little break too. But she's got a great heart, and looking at her now, you would have I never knew that she was struggling with medical issues or anything like that. She's just, at that point that day, she seemed to be thriving.
And she really has been since her treatment, with some setbacks and some hard days, but doing so much better on the whole.
And your trips to Florida, these are family affairs. You take the whole family.
We take everybody.
Uh-huh.
And because we are in it together. And again, I think I also told you that we're selling our home. It's an incredible place, but it's nothing in comparison to seeing your child get well. So whatever it takes for her to get well, but also to be around her brothers and sisters. I was telling you the story, Alan, of dinner the other night. We do conversation starters, and this conversation starter was, if you could trade lives with anyone, who would you trade lives with? And we expected to hear the kids say, I want to be Hannah Montana, or a rock star, or a movie star.
Right.
And my 9-year-old Ben was the first to answer, and he said, I would trade lives with Bella so she didn't have to live with this. And that first of all stopped the whole conversation. No one follows that answer. And second, it's the soul of our family. And I think that comes because we do include everybody in everything. And we have lived in so many hospital rooms at this point. And I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade a minute of it.
You've homeschooled your kids, all of them, since the age of kindergarten.
Since kindergarten, yeah. This is my 9th year. Mm-hmm. And if there's any homeschooling moms listening, they will appreciate the fact that you never quite have it all figured out. You're always working. It's a tremendous gift and also a tremendous responsibility. And none of them are the same. I had Sammy doing phenomenal, so I went and did the same thing with Bella, and that didn't work. So you're changing curriculums, but it's so great to be on that adventure with them too. But I consider it an honor.
You've identified another song, Megin, that I think ties in pretty well here, Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Bridge Over Troubled Water is one of those amazing songs that I at least relate to every line of it in relation to watching my children suffer and seeing them go through some unimaginable circumstances and wanting so much to be that for them and to cover that pain for them. So I have sang it to them for so many nights, and they never get tired of hearing it. And I find that each verse addresses a different part of my children. Like at this moment, that final verse, Sail on Silver Girl, is one that I would repeatedly sing to Bella. And at one point when she was hospitalized, when we went into the ER yet again, she had lost the feeling in her arms and her legs and her tongue, and she couldn't speak to me. And she couldn't communicate because she couldn't move her hands, so she couldn't write. And if you see your child trapped like that, like no human being would want to be, this song speaks to wanting so much to protect them from that.
Simon and Garfunkel's biggest hit. Let's hear it. Bridge Over Troubled Water. That was Bridge Over Troubled Water by Simon and Garfunkel. The song actually won 5 Grammy Awards in 1971. It occurs to me, Megin, that, that fits in well with what we call our music format, Timeless Favorites. 1971, let's see, according to my math, that was...
It's an amazing song.
47 years ago, yeah, and it says something about the timelessness of the sentiments expressed, I think. Our guest, by the way, today is Megin Duff, mom of 4 kids and wife of Phil. Speaking of the timelessness of the sentiments, tell us how laughter fits into the equation of your home.
It is everything to us. We laugh just about as much as we breathe, and that would seem unusual for the pain and the complexities, but it gives life to my husband and I. It connects us to our children. I can't even describe how much it has eased pain. Neurologic pains are not as easy to control as other pains are, or neuropathic also. So they didn't respond very well to medications, and we did not want to over-medicate our children. So we honestly used laughter as the best medicine. We became horrible magicians, which made us even funnier to our children, and made balloon animals that didn't look like animals. Anything we could do to ease the environment. And it has been a gift to us. All of our children are just hilarious at this point.
Tell us a little bit more about Bella's situation.
First, I want to thank you, Christina, for what you said about her.
Let me interject, by the way, for those who might have just been joining us. We also have with us today Christina Dolan, the producer of Grace Notes. Christina and Megin met each other very, very recently. Go ahead, Megin.
I just wanted to highlight how much children can amaze you. If I woke up and I was put in a wheelchair for an uncertain period of time with no one able to tell me when I would feel my limbs again, I'm not exactly sure how I'd do with that. One thing I can tell you about Bella is even in the wheelchair, we did the blood drive tracking back to the community service. And that child was rolling around that room, checking people in, making sure that the people who just donated got their snacks. The one thing I say for Bella is because her disease is so newly identified, no one can give us a true track. And we are learning with Johns Hopkins, with her pediatrician. We're just like a team of learning. But you can never tell what her day will be like. One day not that long ago, she woke up at 4 a.m. and said, "Mom, I can't feel my legs." And she was in the wheelchair again for another week. And so I say the only thing I know about the day is her smile. She still smiles. She still laughs. And she will tell you that she was the second found in hide and seek in her wheelchair. And you got to wonder how she did that. But the ability of each of them, as I've watched them suffer, to not only come back to life, but come back to life with more to give. Sammy told me the other day, Bella's next infusion, I'm going to make balloon animals for the other kids on the floor. And that's what they'll do. So all of my children amaze me. And Maggie, who is well, she deserves props too, because Sammy got sick when she was 9 months old. So every memory that child has is of her brothers and sisters suffering, and I don't see a day go by that she doesn't try to make their world easier or better. If Bella starts to have an episode, everybody understands where to go, and she's the one to get the ice and the Motrin and the this, and come back and gather around her. And it's all of our love and support and the amazing attitude of these kids. They fight with each other, but they fight harder for each other.
I think that's a fantastic testament to your parenting, too, that you've built such a strong family bond through all of this.
Christina, you're stealing my thunder.
Sorry.
I was about to say I've been around long enough to know that how you've just described your kids says a lot about their parents.
Thank you for saying that.
You've identified another song for us that follows, in certain respects, a theme that seems to have developed through our program this evening. Fight Song by Rachel Platten. Tell us about it.
So this song bears emotional significance to my family because a few years ago, I gave my husband the worst birthday present ever. I signed us all up for a mud run. You should have seen his face when he opened this.
And I don't know, by the way, if the video is public, but I've seen the video. Go ahead.
So,
tell us about it.
We did. We decided, I'm a big one for spontaneity and doing something new, and I wanted to do it with all the kids because little Maggie was 4, but I figured we could drag her through the mud pits, and that's exactly what we did. So we ran the mud run, and this is after the boys had suffered so much, and Benny had his complications to surgery, and before Bella had gotten sick, so to me it comes in kind of a window that everybody is up and running, and a friend of mine put it to Fight Song, and it ends with that great line, "I still have a lot of fight left in me," and that's exactly how Phil and I tried to get through all of these incidents as a couple. We do fall apart, but we take turns. So when one of us collapses, the other pulls them up and says, we can do this. We still have a lot of fight left in us. And in that way, we balance each other. And the message of the song is, at least I get the message as, no one is too small to make a difference, which that then tracks back to community service opportunities. But I also want to speak directly to parents out there and mothers who are being told, possibly by medical professionals or someone, that they're wrong, and they have that instinct. I can't tell you how many times I've had that instinct that I've learned to listen to. There's a saying, it says human beings are the only animals that second guess their instincts. And sometimes you just know. And I know with my little son, Benny, when he had come home from his surgery, and one day I was like, his incision looks funny. I couldn't tell you what funny meant, but I basically picked him up under my arm and raced him to the pediatrician, and when I got him there, the first leak of spinal fluid came out of his incision, which led to a major spinal fluid leak and meningitis. And had I not just listened to that little voice that wouldn't stop speaking, Benny could be mentally damaged or even dead. It wouldn't take long in that situation. There's those things, there's those big dramatic moments, and there's the other moments where I just knew something was wrong with Bella, and Johns Hopkins figured it out.
Megin, it's been a real treat to have you here. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Your thoughts and comments, I know, will resonate with a lot of people out there and be an encouragement and a challenge, too.
I hope so.
Let's hear the song, Fight Song by Rachel Platten.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. No, I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
You've been listening to Grace Notes, a special program here on Life 103.1 featuring people who may be relatively unknown, but who meet life's challenges in ways that brighten the lives of those around them. Our producer is Christina Dolan. I'm Alan Button, and we invite you to join all of us here at the station again next Friday at 5:30 for Grace Notes on Life 103.1.